Well, good morning and welcome to Elevenses. I'm back with a live show this morning. What have we got for you today? Well, COVID-19 restrictions, as you probably noticed, are tightening up again. The Sturgis superspreader event has been linked by one research paper to 250,000 new cases. Royal Enfield are opening an assembly plant in Argentina, and RST are offering a set of CE AAA rated denim riding pants. Okay, so make a brew, grab a biscuit, pull up a chair, and join me on Wednesdays and Sundays at 11 for this particular webcast. Right, okay, so what's been going on out there in the world? Well, I had a few days off. You probably noticed that Wednesday's show was a recording on not protective clothing, on heated clothing. Whilst I was away, on what seems to have been a pretty well-timed trip to Shropshire, the lockdown rules have changed again. Now, if you've been confused by the current coronavirus social distancing rules, then you're probably wondering what the new rules will bring in. And these come in as of tomorrow. That's Monday, September 14th. So what will happen? Well, here in England, the new rules will make it illegal for social gatherings of more than 6 people. That comes in, as I say, tomorrow. The limit of 30 people meeting at the same time for a social gathering has been scrapped. The 6-person rule will apply inside and outside. And if you are a motorcyclist, and if you're watching this, you probably are, you need to be aware that it will apply for ride-outs too. And the really important point to be aware of is that here in England, it doesn't matter if you live together. You cannot bring 5 mates along for a ride, each of you having a passenger on the back who is your partner. The 6-person limit is the total of attendees, not family groups or family units or whatever you want to call them. Now, no doubt somebody will already have had the bright idea of organising 30 people to go along for a ride as individuals who just happen to meet at the same time and at the same place, and who only stand around in groups of 6 people at any one moment. Yeah, okay, it may seem like a way of getting around the restrictions, but I think it's pretty certain that the police will be looking to impose the rules. They weren't exactly shy during the earlier stages of lockdown back in April, and big groups of bikers aren't exactly hard to spot when they're all out on a run, so they'd be easy to target too. Anyone found breaking the new law will be subject to a £100 fixed penalty, and if you continue to offend, then the fine continues to double up to a maximum of 3,200, although I'm not quite sure how you double 100 and arrive at 3,200. The maths doesn't seem to work out there to me, but hey ho. But it's worth being aware that a 19-year-old was fined on Friday for hosting a large house party in Nottingham where he allowed more than 50 people into the house. And the fine was for a fairly massive £10,000. Now, Nottinghamshire Police have said that it used its full powers to deal with the reckless organiser of this party, who deliberately flouted rules after he'd already received a warning. So it's worth bearing that in mind if you're planning on organising a group ride. Something else to be aware of course, is that the rules differ in England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. So if you're planning on crossing a border, you need to know what the rules are elsewhere. Each country is talking about the rule of 6, but rather confusingly, each country also has its own interpretation of exactly what that means. From Monday in Wales, for example, the new limit of 6 people only applies indoors, but all 6 must belong to the same extended household group. Now, an extended household in Wales consists of 4 households who join exclusively to form this extended household. So you can come from any of these 4 households which are linked together, but you can't bring in people from outside that group, which you can in England. The rule will apply in pubs, restaurants, private homes, and as of Monday in Wales, you must also wear a mask in shops and other public indoor spaces. Oh yes, Paul's just explained the mathematics to me. Right, thank you very much there, Paul. Yeah, I'm being a dingbat here. Yes, of course, I get the maths now. It's obvious. Right, okay. Anyway, back to what's going on in Wales. Outdoor, there's no change to the current rules, which allow up to 30 people to meet concurrently. In Scotland, the limit will be a maximum of 6 people, but from 2 households to meet together, and that will apply indoors or outdoors. And again, those regulations will apply in restaurants, pubs, beer gardens, and so on, as well as private houses and gardens. In Northern Ireland, the current rules are for up to 6 people from 2 households indoors and up to 15 outdoors. And the other thing to be aware of if you are planning on anything motorcycling oriented is watch out for local restrictions with heavier lockdowns too. You need to know, of course, not just whether your own area is locked down, but if you're organising a ride to a particular location, whether there are any specific reasons that you need to be cautious there. So wherever you are and whatever you're planning, do ride safe. Now, the danger of onward transmission of the virus shouldn't be underestimated. Sorry to bang on about this, but you may recall that the Sturgis rally happened back at the beginning of August. It was. Well, a new study has suggested that particular rally was responsible for up to 260,000 new cases of coronavirus across the US. Now, if that's correct, that's almost 20% of all the 1.4 million cases of coronavirus reported between August the 2nd and September the 2nd. It was the 80th annual event. It saw around 460,000 bikers head to Sturgis, which is a small rural town of just on 7,000 people, from all over the country for a 10-day event between August the 7th and August the 14th. Now, the anonymized mobile phone data was collected, and what researchers have been able to determine is where people came from, where they went back to, and they worked out that something like over 90% of all the rally's attendees travelled to Sturgis from out of state. And the researchers have written the Sturgis motorcycle rally represents a situation where many of the worst case scenarios for super spreading occurred simultaneously. The event was prolonged, included individuals packed closely together, involved a large out-of-town population, and had low compliance with recommended infection countermeasures such as the use of masks. And they have calculated that 61% of all US counties have been visited by a returning rallygoer. And multiple states along the line have reported infections among Sturgis participants, with the analysis suggesting that at least 11 states have had a significant outbreak. However, having said that, despite the numbers, just one death's been directly linked back to Sturgis, and that was a 60-year-old from Minnesota. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem said on Tuesday that the study was fiction. Well, whether it's fiction or not, I think it's fairly clear to say that coronavirus does spread fairly dramatically, given half a chance. And one of the important things to be aware of, which has come out in studies over the last month or two, is that something like 70% of all people with coronavirus are asymptomatic. In other words, they don't actually display outward signs that they have the illness. So they don't feel ill, they don't look ill. And that means they can go about their normal life, not realizing that they're actually carriers of the virus. So, again, it's important if you happen to fall, particularly if you happen to fall into one of the high-risk groups, that you continue to think about your own safety if you're going out on a group ride. Okay, now a slightly more interesting piece of news, or at least slightly more motorcycle oriented. Over the last 10 years or more, many riders have adopted the armoured riding jeans based on a sort of denim outer layer and some kind of internal abrasion resistant layer, maybe Kevlar lining. I bought a pair of these kind of jeans myself some years ago from a UK manufacturer, Grin Factor. I'm not quite sure what's happened to them. I did interview the owner some years ago. I think they might have undergone a name change, but anyway, he was very keen to promote his genes. And what he did to suggest that they were actually providing excellent protection was to take a chainsaw to his own leg, and basically the chainsaw, fairly short order, cut through the denim but didn't penetrate the Kevlar layer. So he must have had a fair degree of confidence in the genes. Other stunts that I've seen involved somebody being dragged around on a cart track on their backside wearing a pair of these denims as well. But ultimately, the problem is that you've no idea how these sample garments that people were testing in this way actually relate to the off-the-peg products. I've talked about the Moto Cap star rating system before. Now, that was started by a chap called Dr. Chris Hurren. He's from Australia, and he's a materials scientist at Deakin University out there. And he's basically created a testing regime where he destruction tests garments to see how protective they actually are. And the important thing really with Chris's system is that he doesn't test samples handed out by manufacturers. He actually goes and gets a secret shopper to head to bike stores and buy exactly the same products off the shelf that you yourself or me would be buying over the counter. I've also been somewhat less than what's the word I'm looking for? Less than supportive of the new CE A, AA, and AAA rating system, because I believe that the A standard sets the bar too low. A good pair of quality denim jeans without any kind of armoring layer in them at all can actually pass the A rating. So if you look at a lot of the labels in many bits of bike kit that are on sale at the moment, from some very respectable brands as well, you'll see many are only actually rated to the A standard. That doesn't mean they can't exceed that, but it does make the point that if they can't reliably pass the AA standard, for example, that would be one reason they've got only the A rating. Chris tested a couple of RST's previous offerings, the T125 standard Aramid jeans and their Vintage 2 jeans, and neither did particularly well in the abrasion tests. One rated 1 star and the other just half a star for safety. Now, the important thing to understand here is that 1 star doesn't mean it doesn't do anything, but it does mean that it's not actually producing a particularly outstanding test result. So it was with some interest that I saw a new product from RST has appeared called their Tech Pro jeans. Now, they are stated to provide the full CE level AAA protection rating. Now, that's the sort of standard that has only hitherto been achieved by really quite heavy textile materials or motorcycle leathers. So it's a big jump forward from the A standard of their previous output. They're constructed according to their marketing blurb of heavy-duty Cordura denim, and they're reinforced with DuPont Kevlar, and they are claimed to provide exceptional abrasion resistance. Well, if they do manage the AAA standard, that's indeed what they should offer. They also come with the higher performance CE level 2 armor, which one good thing about that is I notice it is 3-position adjustable. One of the big problems with a lot of the pockets that body armor fits into is that it's kind of in one position, and if your legs don't happen to fit the model that those jeans were actually made for, you'll end up with the body armor actually being out of position. My partner has that problem with her jeans. I need to do something with the pockets on those. So whether this is really going beyond what is expected of a casual style riding jean, as the publicity material states, it's a matter of opinion. I mean, personally, I'd say that it's pretty much what we should be expecting from a riding jean. You know, if we're dressing for the crash and not for the ride, that is the sort of performance that we should be expecting, in my opinion. The downside of the tougher denim style kit that which Chris has been testing, is that they're generally less breathable in hot weather. They get heavier and more uncomfortable. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform when Chris Hurren gets to test them. At the moment, I don't have any information about whether he's got a pair of those or not. But as soon as I do find out, I'll let you know. They're supposed to be a relaxed fit, and they're supposed to be capable of being ridden on anything from a cruiser to a sports bike. So they may help you out if you are looking for a tougher jean to do a bit of faster riding. Black or dark blue are your colors, as you would expect. Right, okay. So that's all my news for today. The only other thing I'll say is that I just had a really fantastic few days out in the Shropshire Hills area, riding out into Wales. Some fantastic scenery out there. If you're going to go riding, probably now is as good a time to do it as any, and I would get out there and do some riding now before we lock down for good, because I suspect that everything will get tougher from now on. Paul has just written to say, I'll just pop that up, that the AAA standard is lower than the original level 1 requirement for the original CE standard. Okay, the AAA is better than single A, but there are still questions about whether or not it matches the older CE standard. So yeah, okay, anyway, better than nothing. So hopefully you found that useful. Thank you very much for your contribution there, Paul. So where are we? We'll be back on Wednesday, looking at 11. Don't forget, in the meantime, that you can head over to my Lulu page and you can find yourself some reading material over there. And if you've enjoyed the show, you can head over to my coffee page there and find some old editions on that page. And you'll also find lots of better biking articles over there. So, right, okay, thank you very much indeed for tuning in, and hopefully see you again on Wednesday at 11. Bye from Elevenses and bye from Kevin Williams.